bit, and it would be awkward to say it. So we're just going to skip the orange paragraph, okay?
Yeah, we're just gonna sound like we're gonna basically
Three, welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Greg Hectus.
I picked a day to come back, didn't I guess?
All right, and David Hall. Welcome back.
he also decided to steal my obvious line.
Well, we're in a somber mood today, folks, because we've heard about the recent passing of NASCAR superstar Kyle Busch has unexpectedly passed away just a few short hours here before recording. Our condolences to Samantha and Brexton and the daughter. Uh, right. And look, Kyle Busch is one of us. He's a sim racer. He got involved post COVID, and so we've even had Kyle on this show. We've interviewed him briefly and talked about his sim racing. I hit him up in 2021 actually, and asked him about his Monday night races. He was racing on Monday nights in a league that was broadcast at the time, and we were following it closely on the podcast. But boy, it's tough. You follow a guy for 20 years, and you watch him run 10,000 or more, tens of thousands of miles, and you feel like you know him. I met him that one time and spent a few minutes with him in an interview. I've met his wife a couple.
Bumper clear, talking about how good of a father he was, and so you think about the kids, and it's gonna be rough. And I know some of the other drivers have dealt with losing their fathers in the past, but they were a little older, so um, it's definitely a shocking situation. And you end up, you want to respect privacy, but you want to know what happened, and you want to know, you know, it just shoots everything. It just hits. I don't know. I'm starting to ramble.
He's younger than us too, and that kind of hurts too.
He's 2 years older than me. It's kind of like hits home. It's like anything can happen. You just and I was it you, Mike, that posted or someone posted in our chat. It's been going around his last win where he said you just never know when it's your last one.
Yeah, Friday at Dover, last Friday. I can't believe he just won a race and this has happened. It is shocking.
Well, and I don't know how many of you were around when Dale passed. It was really before I started closely following NASCAR. So I know we recently lost Greg, but he was at least retired, so it wasn't like you were expecting to see him on the racetrack next week. But we did plan on going to going ahead and recording a show that we didn't expect we were going to get to record, but plans changed. So we'll knock it out and we'll just dive right into the topics, starting with the iRacing Indy 500 by the numbers. We have an X post from iRacing. There was 263 splits over the 2 weekends between fixed and open, and then they have a video, I think, that's going to show every split's win. And I'm assuming there's some stats in the forum post as well, Mike.
Oh yeah. So I did the math. That's 8,600 people, and the forum post is this guy Jesper Dahlgren. Boy, you want some stats? This guy has put up some stats. He dug through all the different splits, compiled the information, and he's got, you name it, as you scroll down. Broadcast split, he focused on top 20 average finish, uh, then top 20 laps led, then broadcast split top 20 how many appearances, then broadcast split winningness starting positions, biggest career position losers. So he goes both ways with it. Biggest climbs to victory, and so forth. And it goes on and on. I just read off just a handful of them, but he goes on and on with all kinds of information. So if you guys want, who's done what in the Indy 500, this is the forum post for you. You guys didn't run, right? Neither one of you?
No, I ran. Did I run three or two of the
Three. Wow.
opens? One of them I finished relatively okay. One of them I got wrecked out on lap 7, just somebody spinning in front of me. And the last one we were having a lot of long green flag runs, and the guy was passing me on fresher tires, and I gave him room, and he still came up and destroyed my car. That was with about
Oh,
50 laps to go.
yeah, I remember that replay. Yeah, Tom got a P2, I think.
Yeah, I never got
The
a
best I
chance.
finished. Sorry, the best finish I ended up with was the P3 in the majors race.
I never got a chance to run. I've been dealing with some other stuff here, so I've kind of on a hiatus for the last couple of weeks.
And I didn't have the focus on it. I was focused on Ringmeister.
It was interesting. The hybrid system actually does handle a little bit differently. I didn't know that it wasn't just like the GTP and Williams car, because you could actually manually control it, but it didn't quite work the same as the LMP one back in the day. But it turned out that kind of the fastest way and most fuel efficient way was to use, instead of lifting or hitting or even tapping the brake coming into the corner, it was better to first just hit your regen button, and that would actually it would actually engine brake, kind of sort of the electric engine would actually pull some of your momentum back into the battery and slow you down. And I did not think that would, I'm thinking oval racing, how is a hybrid really going to become a factor? But it did, because you could use it instead of engine braking or tapping the brake to slow you back down a little, and then choose when you wanted to boost a little bit or try to use it to make a pass. But everybody had it, so it was equally fair, and I thought it was pretty neat. I didn't know about it in the majors, but Tony Rochette, teammate, actually told us all, make sure you use that, and gave us a good tip there. All right, the next topic is a discussion about what's happening to sim racing esports on the professional level. It's the question is, Drago, what happened? And this guy's basically talking about how his money basically ran out, or his team basically ran out of money, essentially, as I guess, right, Mike?
Yeah, I watched this one. Team Drago apparently is one of the big teams out there, and this video is from Kevin Ellis Jr., who's big on the esports roadside. And so he definitely can speak. Now he got recruited to this team Drago just recently, and then they shut the doors not just weeks later on him and everybody. Now the reason was the primary owner of the team just got out of it for financial reasons, basically. But the video goes on to describe the massive regression of sim racing esports, is how he describes it. He said the sim racing esports scene is in a poor state in his 8 to 9 years of competing. And so there's been shrinking prize pools. Current prize pools are only fractionally larger than they were in 2018 and actually smaller than they were in 2019. Um, the sim to real pivot frustration. The Porsche Esports Super Cup, or PESH as we call it, recently dropped its prize pool down to just 30,000, shifting its grand prize to a chance to become a real world driver. Kevin explains that these eSIM racers, cannot afford the immense stress and financial burdens of real life racing budgets. It's really not what they're racing for. They'd rather be racing for the higher prize money. He also goes on to flawed regional formats with qualifying structures that are based on Europe or America, um, and that's diluting the overall skill of the grid by because he's basically saying most of the eSIM sports people are in a particular continent.
So you could say in some ways the bubble has burst and a lot of the money is contracting away, right?
Look,
Because
we see it when we look at our download totals for this podcast. I've shown a bar graph to you guys. We peaked that year past post COVID, and ever since our download totals have slowly gone downhill ever since. And that's the same thing that's happened with this esports is it peaked right there at COVID, post COVID, and then it's gone downhill ever since. And so anyway, I thought we should talk about it. The esports, the people that make a living doing this. I guess what he's saying, it's hard to make a living now.
well, we have been seeing Coke Series drivers eventually just retire as well, right? Because they have to spend so much time practicing for the race. And for in that case, it ends up being for them the same way something that can burn out real life drivers. Real life drivers have to spend so much time marketing essentially instead of just racing because they have to be finding somebody to pay for them to race, essentially sponsors and such. So 80% of their job is marketing, not racing the car. All right, Greg, we've got our own guy, or not our own guy, but our sponsor's own guy, having some good results.
Yeah. So
Well,
Andrew,
this is bittersweet, to be
yeah,
honest.
sorry, yeah. So it's Andrew Navarro posted on X that well, the 2026 season has concluded for me. 2 weeks ago, I would have described my season as amazing, but now I would say unfortunate. Felt like I could have been a genuine playoff contender. Now it will be what could have been. So obviously he's knocked out of playoff contention, and he's what is there? What 2 races left?
No, this guy didn't make the cut on
Oh,
the
didn't make the
Coke
cut. Sorry to get it.
draft.
Sorry to get into the draft. Sorry, that's what it was. That was the
And I
draft
think he
one.
was third in points, if I'm not mistaken. So check this out. He runs the road to pro. He finishes third, and he misses the cut. Now, if that
Well, he didn't
doesn't
miss the
tell you
cut.
that the draft is broken, it's broken.
It's not
It's not
broke.
a draft.
It's a
It's
popularity
basic.
contest.
It's a popularity contest, and I hate that I haven't been around to talk about this. It's basically done the same thing that is happening in the Truck Series and the O'Reilly Series and even the Cup Series to a point. It getting in the car doesn't come down to talent; it comes down to if you can bring money. And
I.e., Natalie Decker.
i.e. anybody. Cletus McFarland.
Right.
Why is he getting that ride? Okay. All right. And I interviewed Derek Limke. I'm a Natalie Decker fan. She needs I agree. It's time for her to not run the national series, but I'm still a fan, and I still support her. I think she needs to go back to where she can win and build her confidence back up and get reps. I think I don't remember who was talking about this, but you can't be good at racing if you're only doing it once every 3 months. All right. Imagine a football player just playing one football
He
game
needs 3
every,
nights a week.
every 2 years. All right. But here, why is she doing it this way? It's not her choice. All right. And I know this from when I talked with her husband Derek. Even when they went from truck to O'Reilly, or at the time, what was it, Xfinity? It basically came down to their sponsors. Oh, and the race teams in the O'Reilly series were asking for less money than the race teams in the truck series. So if you've got only so much money you can get, uh, you're gonna go where the money can take you. Add to that, is a sponsor going to sponsor you if you're doing ARCA for the same amount if you can get into an O'Reilly race?
Right, TV money, right? All that
So
stuff, right.
so I think if she had her choice, she wouldn't have come up as fast as she did. And Cletus has already learned that lesson. He's said, "Yeah, I'm a little bit over my head. I need to go back down." And even even some Cup drivers have been moved up too soon. And it happens because the sponsors who are paying want them moved up before they're ready because they get more exposure. Um, so it's just another one of those places where the whole business model has some serious side effects, is what I would call it.
Right, and I hate to
It,
see that go into sim racing like it is. Back to Andrew Navarro, this guy got hosed. I mean, and I feel bad for him and his team and all that. And my shout out to iRacing is you got to fix this before next year. This is ridiculous to have these guys put in all this time and effort through the road to pro, perform well, and not have a chance. It's just silly. And so they had the Coke race this week. We're not going to really cover it because I have a bad taste in my mouth about this. Yeah, Bobby Zielinski won. Brad told me he watched the race. Brad reported back that caution free, surprise. That was a huge surprise. And apparently it was a pretty good race, is what they said. Chris watched it too.
yeah, but if you're going to have relegation and all of that, it's coming down to who can bring money or who happens to be a buddy with somebody who's already in the top 20, the first 20 that's locked in. So they're just bringing in teammates, and um, it sucks, but it's a side effect of money running the sport instead of talent. Let's move to the next topic, which is the 3-second rule, is what it's entitled. This is basically a psychology video trying to give you a psychological trick to keep from spiraling when you make a mistake on the track.
Yeah, Jaxer he actually said he's got formal education on how to do this. But Jaxer does a good video where he talks about fire and anchor when you go off or you make a mistake or you spin out or something. Take some kind of physical or verbal action within 3 seconds of the mistake. Your brain won't go into overload mode and spiral, as David says. He says, try to take one slow breath, exhale through your nose to signal safety to your nervous system. Take a deep breath, or speak out a short phrase out loud. Say, head down, push on. Saying it out loud forces your prefrontal cortex back online. Or do a tap and release. Pat the tap of your wheel, or briefly loosen your grip and then re-grip it. This gives your brain a micro movement demonstrating agency and control.
There's more than one way to cook, and I forgot what expression that actually starts off as. This can work as a musician. I'm a little bit. I focus a little bit differently in that we just have to learn to play through mistakes, and you basically almost you have to have, as a performer, you have to have the best memory and the worst memory, because when I'm playing gigs, I certainly don't hit every note, right? Um, sometimes weird things happen, and but you just have to look at the next note and forget it even happened. And so that's kind of the way I end up working, unless I'm just starting to see red in most races. If something happens, I'm I'm so focused on what's next that I won't spiral. But that comes from a lot of music training as well. Um, a lot of times when the mistake happens, I just instinctively go into to save the car mode, essentially. Right, keep it off the wall, and then the next frontal cortex thing is look at the relative. Can I get back on the track safely or not? So there's more than one approach. This is a neat approach. If you happen to be an instrumentalist, those skills can transfer into racing as well.
Yeah, the next step was next corner protocol. Look, once you mess up, you go into that next corner. The instinct is to try to make up the lost time, to go even faster to make up that 2/10 I lost back there. The don't do that is what he says. Take the corner slowly, smoothly, deliberately, make a nice, boring racing line, and nail it right, not fast. And that's a key just to get yourself to not spiral. See, that's the whole. All of this is about not spiraling down after you make a mistake. And so, don't let it take it to the next level. When you go into the second corner, your tires are hot, it's slick. You're sliding around, whatever.
Yeah, he's speaking mostly as a road racer, but even in ovals on a larger time scale, this can become a factor when either your mistake or somebody else's mistake puts you in really poor track position. Say you've been running third all night, and suddenly you're starting in 30th. Um, Beware that you can't get it all back at once, because a lot of people will just start driving like a bat out of hell, trying to get back to third as quick as they can. All right. Is this a Verstappen watch we got here, Mike?
Yeah, we got a little short video here from James Baldwin, who's on Verstappen sim racing team now. And he talks about a few things you need if you want to be a professional sim racer. First, pick your sim, you know, and then master it. Once you pick a sim and master it, then master the other sims. You can't be a professional sim racer unless you're racing in all the different sims. Now, I never touch any other sim besides iRacing, so I haven't gone there. Next thing he talked about was, having that online presence. You got to be marketable. Like David said, a lot of this is marketing and that kind of thing and doing sponsor stuff. But yeah, it's that kind of discussion. If you're interested in becoming a professional driver, yeah, James Baldwin is a great follow.
All right. This video is kind of right up our alley in some ways, and you've heard us talk about some of these same issues many times. We'll start it with a caveat that this is the iRacers Lounge podcast. So you may hear us bitching, but the ultimate truth is we love iRacing. All right. So we'll start there. Uh, there may be some things that have us seeing red at times, but yeah, we do. So, what are some of the biggest flaws in iRacing? Is what this next video is, and I can kind of did give this one a watch, and I can discuss on. The first one was about the netcode collisions, and it was interesting because he almost presented it as maybe it's really a feature, because even though we see the netcode collisions it mispredicting us, some of the other sims, the cars don't look like they're realistically racing, because they're constantly warping and reappearing in the wrong place and stuff like that. And iRacing basically does its best to prevent that from happening. And I can remember some of this in the old R Factor days, where the car would just be here and then be there, when they had a bad connection. So he presents netcode as almost it sucks, but but the other option of having laggy unsim like skipping cars could be considered worse.
This next
Um,
one, David, was new to me though. All these other ones you've talked about in the past, but this one he talks about curb drop off. I've never heard this, but once he showed pictures of it, imagine a curb with a curb on a corner and the dirt is packed up against it, the grass and the dirt. Well, by them slowly going off the curb a little bit with their tire, it actually moves all that dirt and grass and creates a divot or a hole. And he calls it a curb drop off. And in real life racing, that becomes a real problem because you got to make sure your wheel doesn't fall into the hole on the far side of the curb. And so he was hoping iRacing could, with these laser scan tracks and so forth, model this. Can we model and have a proper curb drop off?
Well, how would you laser scan something that's changing? That the laser scanning wouldn't do the trick. What it is it's a dynamic track structure. This sort of is modeled with dirt track racing, right? But I think
Yeah, you can make
all they
a
changed there
burn.
is great. I think I don't know if they model the actual shape of the track or if they just change the grip level depending on the condition of the track.
I was
So
I would say it's more like it's deconstructing, like it's, or it's what do you call it, like it's
Removing a layer of
it's
dirt.
deforming. It's kind of like when you're like, shooting at a door in a game where the bullet holes start taking pieces of the door off or through a wall and things like that. It's kind of like you're modeling destruction.
yeah, that's how it could work. But the question, what I don't know, would be cool to hear an answer to is the dirt track changes. Are they just changing the track and pick the track grip level and visuals, or is the actual shape of the track changing? Because
I
that's
think
what we're
it
talking about
changes.
here.
Like if you're in a dirt oval, the outside will come up into a burn as the track wears. The dirt will be pushed out, and that's a physical little hill that you can put
But
your right up on.
is that happening visually in iRacing, or are they
Yeah,
actually?
visually, physically, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. And if they have that, then this is possible. And but if you start doing this on a track with 60 cars at Le Mans or Sebring, um, again, it's going to start taking uh, a lot of resources. So it would definitely require dynamic uh, off tracks, essentially.
Well, and the thing is it has to, then the track has to have a memory for everyone's system too, right? Like it has to, well, say you're at a big track like what Mike's doing with the Nürburgring. So there's a something going on the far side of the track, way down, 10 minutes away, or eight, sorry, not 10 minutes, like 5 minutes down the road. That has to be, there has to be a memory of it. And do you think of how much it has to render if it's like a track like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of nuts and bolts and behind the scenes with programming and modeling that are questions we just don't know the answers to. Lack of safety cars. We've discussed this before. We've run in the major series and they have safety cars. Um, and he brought up some of the same concerns that they deal with. He suggested random safety cars as a possibility so that you don't have too many safety cars. And we do that in the majors because they don't have enough admins to run safety cars at the same time if they could happen at any time in the splits. So what they actually have is the officials will come into each server as they need to run a safety car and then leave and go to the other split. So he suggested random numbers. He suggested maybe only you can't have a safety car in the first 30 minutes or last 30 minutes. That is actually already a rule in the major series as well. And they can also only after a restart that you can't have a safety car for another 30 minutes. Now, in the top split, they do still have a safety car if a car has to tow, and that's how they create the dynamic situation. So, if iRacing did this, they'd have to put in some of these considerations. And the 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 race control is, I think, iRacing's greatest weakness right now, especially with multi-class racing. Um,
Beat
is
that dead horse some more, David.
Yeah, it's that's well, he did. He brought it up for
He
us.
beat it. You beat it. All right.
Flawed damage model. This was pretty neat as well. tire barriers should basically be almost more like a trap instead of a trampoline. Is basically the best way to say that. You
You get
bounce if you
stuck into the tires, right?
Yeah, and I've seen that happen sometimes, but most of the time you literally just get launched right back onto the track, and that the whole point of the barrier is to keep you from going back on the track so that you don't get plowed into by other cars. And then there's definitely some inconsistencies on whether heavy damage slightly hurts your car or you barely get tapped and you get a meatball. All right. So, um, yeah. So this video brings those issues up.
I'll take the next one. We got a Pit Lane Pete video, and he goes over a few overlooked tips and settings for iRacing. He calls them hidden, but I don't know if they're hidden. But I'm just going to hit them briefly, and we're going to move on. Ghost practice official sessions. This is a great way to practice. You don't have to worry about wrecking somebody or being embarrassed, or nobody can see you when you're a ghost. So don't forget about ghosting. Turn up the sounds.
I
Lower
do
the
this.
audio slides like the engine down to 50% while leaving that tire volume up. David, I put this video in here just for this because I know you've been pushing this the whole time.
Yeah, I do this one. I not only do I do it in the audio on my butt kicker as well. The loudest thing is tire slip. I have everything else, engine shifting, that's all lower. I just have the tire slip. So the main thing my butt kicker tells me is when when I'm sliding the tires, which is really helpful, especially in ovals, on knowing if I need to back off the gas just a little to either keep from plowing the right front or spinning out. So yeah, this is a big tip that I've used since before iRacing.
Some other quick ones. Use the FOV calculator. Look, if you're not looking at the right angles and stuff on your screen and the right distance, it's not going to be right. Perfect your seating position. Look, this is a science, people. Uh, if you're in the GT seating position, you should be X amount of, inches away from your wheel and X amount of inches, away from the pedals and certain angles of your leg and arms. So look it up. It's out there. Turn off HDR. The in-game HDR toggle doesn't enable true hardware HDR monitor output, but it adds this visual bloom and aggressive sun glare. Well, you recommend having it off. I actually played with this for a while when I got my new graphics card originally and could never make it work right. So I have it off. And then finally, map the active reset feature. You got to have two buttons: set the start point and reset the start point. And when you have active reset buttons and you're in a test session, you can, like, okay, I want to practice this corner. And you set a start and an end to it. And then every time you try the corner, you just reset and do it again. Reset and do it again. Great video.
All right, this next one I didn't get to take time to watch. It's called Inside the World's Highest iRating Race, and we do have a summary here. It was 10,144 strength of field, so it was at least half of the drivers were 10,000 plus iRating.
I think that's the story. Is that it is the highest SOF ever that this guy can find in iRacing, and based on that number you just called out, I believe it. That's
So
just amazing.
so we discussed the power of preparation. Um,
Yeah, he just shows off the race and how it looks like in a 10,000 iRacing race SOF. If you want to check it out, check it out. But it's just like any other split, really. There's lots of craziness. We already covered this next one. Zelensky wins the Coke race. Christopher Hill second, Stephen Wilson third. And by the way, I kind of watched the post interviews after the race. I did watch that. And when Stephen Wilson was on his interview with the announcers, whatever, he has Carson Hocevar on speakerphone. So then the announcer's asking Carson a question like, "What did you think about that tire call?" And then Carson Hocevar is piping in on the interview. Uh, but boy, that guy is involved in everything, isn't he? Steven does drive for Spire, so that's the connection.
Next, we have a possible new content hint uh, that, and that's that the CEO of BMW has said uh, during the Nürburgring 24 broadcast that they will discuss. Boy, this must be in roughly translated or something because reading it's kind of hard. They said they will discuss to have the BMW Touring GT3 come to iRating. So I don't know if that means they're in talks with iRacing or if they would be interested in having it happen.
Well, look, that's a legit source. If it's a CEO of BMW saying, "Hey, we're going to bring this car to iRacing," the touring one, it looks like a wagon, like it's like a hatchback kind of thing. Yeah, but it's GT3, so it looks pretty cool. I've seen pictures of it.
So that'll be like the Hyundai and stuff like that. It kind of look like that because it says the hatchback look.
Right, hatchback style. Yep. Cool. I'll race it.
All right, Malik is selling sim gear now.
Well, he's a movie star. I don't know if you call him a movie star, but he is on Logitech's new debut commercial that's been showing on Prime Video's NASCAR coverage all weekend, uh, co-starring with Bubba Wallace. And I watched the advertisement from Logitech, and it's pretty cool. It kind of jumps back and forth from the sim rig to the real race car. Bubba's in the real race car, Malik is in the sim rig, and they show different. It's kind of a fast edit. They're going back and forth and kind of comparing or contrasting the sim to the real. Just like we always talk about. But congratulations to Malik Ray. What a neat perk of being involved with Logitech.
All right, Greg, what dirt tracks does this guy want to see added to the service?
So this is a post in the forums from George King. Uh, why no? How do you pronounce it?
The
Duquesne or
coin.
Duquesne or Springfield dirt mile tracks? Sorry, I got mispronounced that.
Do
Duquesne.
coin.
Duquesne. I've never. Where's that one at?
It's not in Germany.
Missouri,
Probably
something
it
like that.
sounds.
Somewhere in the Midwest.
Okay, so these are both historic and iconic racing multi-class, including ARCA. He's just posting this. You would think that if they wanted to do an accurate virtual schedule, they would be included. I'm not familiar with either of these tracks, obviously, because in Canada we have limited dirt tracks as it is. But I don't know what's the census here.
Is that because the dirt has to actually be thawed to be dirt?
No, it's just we have very limited racing series, I guess, too, right?
Well, look, the
Because
dirt guys are
it's just
always
hard
looking
to.
for some
You
love.
have you can race snowmobiles,
Well, there's plenty of stuff to do in the wintertime.
race
Let's bring him
ice road
some.
trucks.
Let's bring the dirt guys some love, guys. Let's get them some dirt tracks.
Did you ever watch Ice Road Truckers, Greg?
Yep, it's just a glorified TV production.
And I thought it was interesting, but yeah, they really would overhype a lot of the danger and drama, wouldn't they?
Yes.
All right, what are 5 mistakes, Mike, that you make with your sim racing setup?
Yeah, it's a post from RES Tech Simulation out of Italy. And they say number one, the wrong cockpit structure. If your cockpit moves, Your inputs become less precise.
So no
Must
flex.
choose a rigid chassis. Number two, wrong field of view. We just talked about that. Wrong wheel position. We kind of talked about that. You've got to have that right sitting position, right wheel positioning. Wrong pedal position, same thing. You got to have your pedals in the right place so you don't have knee pain or leg pain or ankle pain. Wrong monitor distance. A lot of people get this wrong. They're way too far away from the center monitor. And then finally, they say you should buy their cockpit.
Well, if it's the one that's on page 7, no, it's not 80/20. It's probably too expensive too. Usually those designs are. But the tips are correct. All right, I didn't watch this video, but I did see the Nick Nebon's reply in the forums, the screenshot we took of it, and I think he's spot on with what he says about cleaning up racing.
Yeah, it's just a video Dick Nebon puts up of Truck Series fixed at Charlotte, top split. And his ideas are number one, valid protests for intentional wrecking and intentional cautions when reaching a 1 week ban also blacklist you from the series. They happened in for 4 weeks. I like that idea. DQ
I,
limit needs to be removed.
that first one, I have made that suggestion before. Instead of 1 week banning them, just make them go back and race lower series for a while, and
You lose your A license, your B license.
or specifically, you just can't run that specific series. I had a guy that I just recently protested, and I haven't gone to check and see if he's gotten to race yet, but like a couple of months ago, I had a guy who intentionally wrecked me 3 times, and they did not suspend him. And so how are you going to clean up? How are you going to clean up racing if you do that? And this guy that recently the protest went through, he wrecked 5 different cars in one 45-minute race, including intentionally wrecking me because I called him out for wrecking a GT3 stupidly, and he came on and talked smack and hit me. And if he just gets a 1 week ban, is that really going to send a message? What if he just can't run IMSA until the next release?
Oh, I like this one. DQ limits removed and let them destroy their safety rating and let them lose their license.
But I like the way the third one
How
and
did
the
that
fourth
work?
one go with that, though.
Do you remember the split in the Daytona where the guys just kept getting incidents and incidents and incidents and incidents? No, that one's not a good idea.
Well, especially if it's like I get they got, or they're kind of using this as a thing here. But say they're using like I don't know, say they're running a road course and you just keep getting 1x off tracks and gaining an advantage because of it.
These last ones are good too. Number three, valid protests should also drop you a license level and reset your MPR, so you can't get it back quickly.
You should be
Number four.
It should drop you, like I think it should drop you to like whatever that license lowest thing is. Like say it gives you to like a 0.49 or something like that, and you have to build it back all the way up.
Or it says multiple valid protests in one season should be a direct reset to rookie with an MPR reset. I like that too. If you do it more than once, you're really going back to rookies. Last, stop making every series and special event D 4.0 and up.
Special events, I think he's spot on. He mentions that you hardly need to be respectful to run NIS if all you have to have is a D.0 and or a D 4.0. How many C class and B class drivers do we see when we're in NIS?
0.
None. So that makes that
doesn't
particular
mean
argument
anything,
invalid, right? It's just that we talk about it. There's it's the same guys who are causing the trouble. We have a list, and like every one of us, like, yep, I've had problems with him. Yep, I've had problems with him. The guy in the race last night at Charlotte, had 4 different people yell at him. And then the last thing that he did before he finally left was he went to pit and missed a pit stop and came all the way back up across all the way to the wall right in front of a pack of 6 cars. And it's not isolated incidents. Then there needs to be some way to deal with people who just don't learn. All right, insert dead horse sound here. What does a dead horse sound like, actually?
Now beating the dead horse like a bat against a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, but if you want to call it just a dead horse, does that sound? It's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it? Moving on, Busa giving back.
Matt Busa is featured in a story from a local news station out of Chicago that talks about a group that went to his facility. Now, if you recall, Matt Busa, a former Coke driver, runs this sim racing Naperville, and he also used to work at the sim racing Barrington. Now, we visited that last September one evening when we went to the Sim Gaming Expo and had a great time. But at the new one, the new sim racing facility he works at now, he was able to host a group called the Beautiful Lives Project, and it's basically a group of people who can't use their feet. And so he set up all the different rigs with hand controls for the throttle and brake. And a lot of these disabled people were able to try sim racing for the very first time in their lives, and to see the excitement of the guys on the motion rigs and the guys on the triple screens with the big steering wheel and stuff was just priceless. A bunch of happy people having the best time of their lives. What a neat project. And imagine you've lost the access to your feet, or you can't walk, or you're in a wheelchair, and you don't even know about sim racing, and then you go and get involved in this, and you realize, wow, I can go home and do this. I can figure out a way to make this work.
And before we get into the events section, we have a quick hit Instagram post. The title was "Gentlemen, Start Your Engines," but it basically is an announcement from Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum that you can go
Well, you
there
see it on
and.
the wall painted, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Driver, start your engines. But that's what it is. It's they've got 5 or so sim rigs hooked up running iRacing, and you can practice qualifying. Um, and that, yeah, at a glance, I can see the overlay, so I'm pretty sure it's iRacing.
It
So you
is
can go
iRacing, yeah.
to IMS and practice qualifying. So that's pretty cool for, I guess, for somebody who's not been exposed to the rig before. Just like they
Yeah,
have a rig. Most of the time, the fan experiences at the NASCAR tracks have a few rigs set up as well. I know when at the Daytona 24, there were several different booths that had a rig that you could get in line and run a lap time at as well. All right, Sim Gaming Expo. I guess we don't have any new announcements for the Sim Racing Expo that Brad is currently at right now. But Sim Gaming Expo is coming up. We do have. I don't think I've been on since we got the update. We do have our booth reserved, and I know we're foregoing the couch this time because nobody used the couch last year, so we're going to just set up a couple of tables instead. And I might actually bring a speaker and bring my saxophone and play some real jazz just to really give it that lounge effect. But Sim is the expo is coming up 18th through the 20th. I do know this as well. George or Jorge will be coming on here in a week or two as they're going to start their big promotional push, basically starting next week. And at that point, we should have a promo code for you as well. So, an exhibitor announcement: MK Golf Club.
cool. Like a golf sim.
Yep, there's a
That'll be fun.
yeah. I might actually bring a golf club or two. That would be interesting. my brother and my father are a whole lot more into golf than I am. I can say that I own a pair or a set of golf clubs. That's about it. Um, but they were watching an event where essentially they had a simulator where you just hit the ball and then it calculates where the ball should have gone on a course. And then they had a rotating green and they would do the short game part on in a little rotating stage in a stadium. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it looks like, oh sorry Dave, just to finish up, it looks like with reading through that um, it's kind of designed for all skill levels. It's kind of just help people. Um, it's an interactive simulator that I guess that you're probably gonna have to use their clubs. It sounds like maybe on it.
hmm. When I bought my set of clubs, they actually had a simulator where you could practice swinging and they even gave you a little free lesson because they could tell what some of what you were doing with the simulator. The next special guest announcement is Project Sim Star.
He does some kind of space flight simulation, sci-fi space flight simulation. Moving on to events, the Indy 500 and Charlotte 600. It's called the Double, and so we got this poster of an event that somebody's putting on May 30th to run the Double. You're going to do IndyCar at Indianapolis 500 miles, then Gen 7 at Charlotte 600 miles. They got the race times. Indy is at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Charlotte 6 p.m. Eastern, so 5 hours later. What do you guys think? There's going to be cash prize and so forth.
What if there's weather? Do you think that you're not going to be able to make the second race?
Simulated
Oh, my
double
bad.
on iRacing. Anyway, it's in support of a project we used to support on this show called Project Canine Hero, and presented by all kinds of different sponsors. Where does it say who actually puts this race on? Is it called it's Universal Motorsports Tour.
See, I think they're missing one aspect of this. You should have to get in Microsoft Flight Simulator as well, and
In between.
fly the jet to from from Indianapolis to Charlotte.
It's a
And
possibility. There, we've got the majors 2 hours of the Glen on Sunday evening. So, but my Saturday is open, so it would be interesting to give this a shot.
the Majors 24.
Yep, that's coming up June 6th at Le Mans. They are adding a BOP this time, and the top four so splits will have live admins. Everybody else will just have, I think, some of the lower splits at this because there's so many splits they can't run cautions at every single one of them. But they did, I know on a show recently, Garen said that they don't expect it to be as wet as last year, but there still could possibly be some rain.
And then this weekend, iRacing, they announced imagine that, the Coke 600 or World 600. Brad was giving a hard time because they didn't announce it in the forums, the special event of iRacing called the Coke 600, until Monday night, very late Monday night. It starts on Wednesday night. So they literally announced the special event 48 hours before it starts. I mean, come on, iRacing. Can't you just give us a week? Can't you announce it at least 7 days out? How about 14 days out so people
I,
can learn about it?
I don't guess I would have known about it if they hadn't put that poster up. I didn't know it was coming up.
Well, look, you and I live this, David. We know the schedule, but I'm talking about the new iRacers and the people that we're trying to recruit to grow the base. The marketing. Look, I hate to say it or throw somebody under the bus, but the marketing at iRacing has really gone downhill. It really has. I'm not, being untruthful here. 48 hours before the race event, a special event. There's only 20 special events a year. You can't get this right?
The posters do look great though.
Boy, don't they? Wonder how long did they only get 48-hour notice to do the poster? I mean, okay, I digress.
It's probably why it was so late, is they were just doing such a good job of making such a good design that it just took them that long to get it ready.
The IndyCar iRacing series is running, obviously at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so that's a good practice. iRacing Grand Prix Tour. Uh, this is the Formula One car. No way I'm trying that. The new iRacing DTM series, which is running when we record our podcast, so we always will miss that. And then the Nürburgring Endurance Championship, Dirt Sprint Car Tour, Late Model Tour, Super Late Model Tour, the Whelen Modified Tour, the Vintage Grand Prix Tour, which I'll talk about in results because I actually ran the Vintage Grand Prix Tour. And I'll just say I was in over my head big time. All right, that's all we'll say on that. Podcast housekeeping, leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find the podcast. Please mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We would appreciate it. Check out the Discord, get involved in the discussion. Lots of conversations going on over there. And then, of course, our show notes, iRacersLounge.com. We're in regular rotation at Performance Motorsports Network, and merchandise is available at iRacersLounge.shop.
All right, so I guess we didn't have any fantasy picks last week, but do you want to talk All Star recently?
Well, a little. I think the takeaway on the All Star was, man, Denny Hamlin's still good. Denny Hamlin is hitting on all cylinders, and is he going to get to his win count by the end of next year? He might. He's got a couple this year, so congrats to Denny. It's nice to see him at the top of his game as a veteran driver. Um, and then the takeaway was whoever made the decision to go to Dover for the All Star race needs to be fired. I
Well,
mean, it's time to get rid of all these people.
was that not Marcus Smith?
Fire him. I don't care who he is. Look,
He owns SMI. They're not going to fire him.
I know, but we need some fresh blood. I mean, the Steve O'Donnells of the world. I'm just done with it. Okay.
I,
Everyone, Dale Jr., Denny Hamlin, all these guys just panned it. Why are we running not at night? Why are we at Dover? Why is it 4 hours long? Why are all the cars here?
I'm going to defend Stephen O'Donnell because especially if you followed the trial and all that closely, he was basically constantly having his hand tied by higher ups, and I agree with a lot of what he's wanting to do in the future. So I'm looking forward to seeing him running things as kind of a fresh face and a non-family face. But yeah, it was a really bad idea, but it was basically done because they wanted to give Wilkesboro a points race. And this is one of the only places they could take it from, and that was done. It's not SMI. What's the other company? Or is it SMI? It's NASCAR and SMI, right? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So they got stuck with Dover. Now, the reason they went with the format, they had their hearts were sort of in the right places because they wanted to give the Dover fans still basically almost a points race, and that's what it ended up being, which is not the All-Star race. The essentially though, the All-Star race does not need to be at Dover. Denny said it himself. That place is so unique compared to the other tracks. It needs to be a points race. Also, if you forget about the format and the stupidity of making the All-Stars race in the open part of the race, that was the worst decision. The fact that 5 or 6 All-Stars didn't even get to run the All-Star race because they were wrecked out by non-All-Stars, right? But it doesn't need to be. It definitely doesn't need to be at Dover. The race itself, the racing itself, even when Denny was pulling away at the track, was actually pretty good. The way the actual surface and the raciness of the track, and people being able to come through the field was on the plus side. Having it as the all-star race, though, definitely did suck. Um, the reason we ultimately left Charlotte is because Charlotte sucked in the old car, right? All of the mile and a halves were snooze fest in the old car, and so the trend was to get away from it. Now we got the new car, and it sucks at the smaller tracks. So take it back to Charlotte.
And then talking about this weekend, Charlotte, Coke 600. It's going to be a very somber event, I'm sure, with the passing of Kyle Busch this week. Um, I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. It just sounds so weird coming off my lips. Um, who do we like for this? I mean, Denny's really hot right now. I mean, I don't know. Denny, Tyler Reddick, the usual suspects, I
The
presume.
19.
Chase, yeah, he's hot.
Chase. Probably both chases, the 9 car. I would say Larson's probably going to be in it if he doesn't beat himself.
So this is not usually a race where you see a surprise winner, right? It's usually somebody who's at least been knocking on the door.
Was it this race? Was it last year or 2 years ago that Byron like dominated and ended up not winning?
Sounds about right.
He had like something like 300 and something odd laps led and then didn't end up winning it.
It's a different race, even online. It drastically changes that last 500 miles, or not 500 miles, last 100 miles. So, the usual suspects are probably the best bets if you're making your picks. All right, let's move on to the hardware section, as we feature every week. Our frequent contributor in the Discord, Chad McNeese, might as well be an honorary member. His ultimate spreadsheet has everything on there that you want. I may end up having to use this pretty soon. The formula wheel that I got from Fanatec has had a lot of use, and it's held up, but it's starting to actually disintegrate. Like the actual frame is starting to come apart. So I'm gonna at least have to get a formula wheel soon. I'm gonna essentially try to stop gap. I don't want to get rid of the base until it breaks. So I'm not going to buy another Fanatec product, so I'll have to go adapter. Guess where I'll be going to look? I'll be going to look at this spreadsheet.
All right, we got a VR from Pimax, their best yet, $1,800, and they call it the ultra wide. And so we have a quick hit from OC Racing. Gives us a short video talking about the price and what it does. Build quality does feel cheaper for the expected price. He did say there's some blur and distortion if you're not in the sweet spot, and you need a very seriously powerful PC to run it.
Yep, and a deep wallet. I'm really happy with my Crystal Light. I mean, it really just gets the job done. I'm fully immersed. There's no screen door effect. The foveated rendering does pretty good, but you can tell you can't turn your eyes and look in like say a screen without turning your head, because it'll be a little bit of out of focus because the resolution is so low on the edges of the screen. But usually you're not moving your eyes that much anyway to read text. It's definitely a high quality option. I think it's a really tough competitor for the big screen, and in my opinion, a way better buy than that Apple monstrosity that you keep talking about.
They're not even going to sell anymore. Yeah, okay.
The whole Pimax ecosystem though is really good. I've watched a couple of reviews on it. It's nice if you want to really spend the money, but if you're budgeting, you will not be disappointed with a Crystal Light at all. It's really good.
This next one I'll take, David, is just a quick hit. It's from Track Racer, and it's got a picture of a piece of equipment. We really can't tell what it is, but they have the logo. They have the Track Racer logo, and they got the Porsche logo. So obviously there's some kind of product they're going to put out, Porsche branded. What do you think it is?
I think it is more expensive.
Because it's got the Porsche logo. Okay, got it. Yeah, I'm guessing a wheel, but it's hard. It's not enough detail to tell in the picture. Coming soon.
That looks like a seat, kind of.
Could be.
It looks like the front edge of a seat. All right. Cubic system complete overview. It's too bad we don't have any of our motion people on anymore. They've all kind of vanished on us. Did you give this one a watch?
I did. It's actually a video from Podium One, and I'm really keen on Podium One racing. When we were at the Sim Gaming Expo, they literally had the best booth.
I did actually watch this one too. I recall now.
It's a motion pivot point that sits underneath the center of the seat. So it's a seat mover, basically. Yeah. And so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it is the cubic seat mover. When I heard the cost, and I don't see it in this breakdown, it was like a hard no. It was several $1,000s. I don't remember how much it was.
You could get a 3DOF for that price easily.
Right. That's what I was thinking too. And the whole disconnect of your seats moving, but your wheels not, and your pedals aren't. I don't know if I like that.
Well, we were vehemently opposed to that, both me and Brad, the last time we covered this for the same reason. I don't see how you could control braking if your seat is moving and your foot's not, your pedal's not.
Right.
You know,
right. You got to be so precise with the amount of pressure you put on the brake, right?
Yeah, it's very, it's just, it's not good. There's not another nice way to say it.
It's a hard no. Yeah.
Is green your favorite color, Mike?
Well, it might be if I'm a fan of Asher Racing. So Asher Racing has released a version of their wheel that's called Maniti Green. And apparently there's a organization called Maniti Racing. I'm not familiar, but the buttons on the Formula wheel have the bright emerald green color.
It's like anodized green, right?
Yeah, it's a nice look.
If they just change that pronunciation a little bit and put a logo of an animal on the screen, you could call it manatee.
Okay.
If you're watching on video, you'll see the wonderful eye rolls I got from both hosts.
I want a sound effect going wah wah wah.
Now here's what
or crickets.
Now I want to read what they wrote on the Instagram post. It says, "They call it the green hell. So we brought the perfect match, giving you a first glimpse of the Maniti green. This is the digital sneak peek that we wanted to share, coming to life soon." So it's basically a take off of the Nürburgring, the green hell, which has gotten so much popularity with Max Verstappen running at the Nürburgring. What a pleasure that was to watch. Man, I enjoyed watching that. That was so much fun.
No, wasn't it the first ever sellout?
No,
it was 360,000 people or something. They say.
Now somebody tell Martin Brundle that if Max leaves, it won't matter to F1.
Well, it really shows you how fragile that F1 stuff is. People love their green hell.
All right, we have a new direct force wheel coming out of VRS.
No, just a software update, actually.
Ah.
Yeah, they only have one wheel. You pay for the amount of force feedback you want, right?
So they upgraded the USB pass-through power limit to 2.5 amps. This will run now any third wheel party at full brightness that has a display. So apparently it was a much lesser voltage pass-through, and so the software update increases that.
It's crazy how they have the technology built into it, and then they just released the power with a technology or with a software
It's
boost.
software locked. Yeah.
Because I think I remember, I thought it. I think it was. I could be wrong about this, but I thought it was Nintendo did this with one of with um, their Nintendo Switch. I think at one point it didn't have Bluetooth capability, but they unlocked it with a software update. But I could be wrong with that. But if I remember correctly, I thought that that's how it came. It's kind of cool that it's built in, but we lock it behind things because I think this is starting to happen more often. I think there's manufacturers are like for cars are starting to do this with features on their car. You have to pay for upgrades to have that feature on the car.
Is this a
Kind of.
popular wheelbase? I don't think it is. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's good. I don't think it's popular.
All right, we've got a Sim Magic wheel being premiered. It looks like tomorrow. It's coming out the same time as Grogu. The Zeus formula. It looks like just about the standard kind of Ferrari looking wheel layout. Three buttons, thumb buttons up high, three thumb buttons down low. Pretty good, simple formula format wheel. It's got a display. It's got the LEDs in the middle. It's got two paddles on the back, as far as I can tell. The only problem I have with the post is that I can't really see the back.
The second post has a video, David, if you go down, and they kind of show it off. But they have a whole series of wheels called Zeus, named after the mythology god Zeus. And so they kind of show in the video oval wheel, and then a couple different versions of Formula Wheel. Um, yeah, these are going to be the high end line of wheels from Sim Magic. So if you're with Sim Magic, you may want to take a peek at this.
It might have been cool to push the next item until Brad was back, but you could probably just talk about it as well, Mike. Is the SimuCube 3 worth paying for or paying more for?
Yeah, we got a long term review here from Boosted Media, Will Ford, on the SimiCube 3 Sport and Pro after 6 months. He talks about the ecosystem shift. Remember, the SimiCube 3 doesn't do the USB pass through. They have a new proprietary technology. Um, and so he feels that's a trade off for sure. He talks about the rocky launch and the software fixes. Uh, Initially, it was a bad experience. There were severe issues with software and this and that, but they did turn it around. He did give him credit for that. Uh, I think when they initially released it or announced it, they were just doing it in response to somebody else announcing a wheel. Like it sounded very premature when they did put it out. How do they perform now? He basically says, "quote The absolute best quality force feedback that he and Tom have ever felt in their lives." Now, let's qualify that statement. Will Ford has tested probably every wheelbase that exists. I mean, we've put our hands on a few, but not like this guy, and not like this guy who runs them for 6 months at a time and this and that. So when he says that the SimiCube 3 has the best quality force feedback, I believe it. Now, is it worth an upgrade from the SimiCube 2? I don't think so. I don't think he really gets into that too much. But he also goes on to say, who is this for? He really thinks that the target audience is more of a high-end commercial sim center or professional setups, or maybe even wealthy enthusiasts. Uh, and he doesn't feel like it's really a product for the mainstream sim racer, basically because of cost. Look, you can get into a Sim Magic or a Moza right now, a 25 newton meter for right at $1,000. And this Pro is almost $1,700 for the SimiCube 3 Pro. And so he calls it an innovator's tax. And so that he defends SimiCube's expensive price tag, noting that they're one of the few true innovators left in sim racing. While other companies literally copy ideas and drive prices down, that's Moza right there. SimiCube is pushing the technology boundaries that will eventually trickle down to cheaper consumer products in the future.
And he does
His
point
biggest,
out. Can
go
I
ahead.
can I talk about the light? I'll talk about the light bridge thing. He points out the light bridge technology is actually solving a problem in that the USB pass through in has limitations based on motherboards sometimes, and also is vulnerable to EM interference, and so that's why they've gone with the light bridge technology. But as it's a pro, it's also a con because it narrows what you can put on the wheel. That's a little bit of a stretch because you can use adapters. That's also his biggest grievance at the bottom, in that he doesn't like that non-ecosystem third party wheels. You have to use external adapters. Um, I would call that a minor grievance compared to he wants them to put the USB on there as well, but again, the USB is vulnerable, and that definitely that adds cost and probably negates some of the advantages of the light bridge. So
Look, if money's not an object and you're building the best sim rig, what am I going to tell you to buy? The SimiCube 3 Pro. Yep.
yeah, if the Fanatec ever dies, that's probably what I'll get. But I might not get the Pro. I might get the Sport.
You'd probably be okay with the Sport, but I don't know. I mean, you've already gotten used to that Newton meter force of the DD2 you have, right? Which is
No, I have a
25
DD1. I have a
DD1.
DD1, and I don't have it maxed out because, believe it or not, between it and powerlifting, it causes tendonitis.
You want that headroom though.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Uh, Conspit Nano Dashboard. Did you translate it? Because I can't read this language for sure.
No, but it certainly is cute, isn't it? Doesn't it look cute? It's so tiny. It's like a mini little cell phone is almost what it looks like, but it's got the signature purple edges, and it actually hooks magnetically to their little magnetic quick display connect they have built into the Aries Platinum base, and so it pops right on and off wirelessly without wires, and it's kind of cute. Like I said, it's cute.
I like my sim gear to be cute. That's a priority.
Cute DD. Okay, how about a title
Title
idea?
idea?
Cute DDU.
Oh God.
It's a cute DDU. Look, I love my SimSport Gadget DDU, which is 10 inches. It's just the opposite of this. It's huge, and I love it. I can't tell you how much it's added to the experience. I really like it.
We have a do-it-yourself formula wheel for about $150. Is that the equipment price or the price that you
I
can
think
get
it's
it
just the
assembled?
digital files.
Wait, the
Oh wait,
file
no, it
alone
says
is
no, it
150?
says all materials and so on can be bought for
Okay,
$150.
that's not bad. If you're doing DIY, you're not doing it to save money. You're doing it for the fun of building it. So otherwise you're going to get what you pay for in a sense.
Anyway, it's Rival Sim Racing. If you're that kind of guy that wants to build, you got to check this out. They have some pretty neat looking stuff. Now the wheel, it looks a little overbuilt when you look at a picture of it, and it looks kind of heavy and it looks kind of thick. So I don't know if it's visually appealing to me, but it might be a fun project.
All right, go ahead. This isn't really an Apple Vision deep dive, is it? It's just like a 15-second video.
Well, so this guy Himmelsteck is one of the very few people I've come across that actually has Vision Pro from Apple and iRacing. And so he did a YouTube video, but this is just a shorter version that he put on Twitter. And so in the video, you can certainly see him uh, racing at Road America, and he kind of holds his hands up, and you can see, and he's moving his hands around, kind of showing, look, I can see my real hands. Here's my wedding ring. And then I put him right back on the wheel, and the wheel itself is all digitally iRacing wheel. Everything else is digital, but his hands. And so the first video we saw was using an app with a workaround where they cut out a silhouette around the wheel. This is much different. You don't see any of those cutouts. You just see the hands, the real hands floating in front of the iRacing background, basically. I mean, it looks really cool.
So you see the iRacing's wheel instead of your own wheel.
Right. But you can see your hands. You can see your hangnail on your right finger, you know.
Yeah, that ain't worth $2,800, dude.
$3,400.
This is the most overrated thing we've ever covered. I mean, if you want immersion, just use VR.
Even more overrated than wind simulators?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I haven't really I've been playing a lot of gigs. That's where I've been the last few weeks. The It's just you mentioned it might be really awesome for flight sim as well, and it would be even worse for flight sim. And it's in the race sim, at least most wheels are kind of sort of in the same place. An F-16's joystick is in the right hand. An F-18's stick or flight stick is right in between the legs, right? A C-130's flight yoke, which is not a stick, is basically more like a steering wheel up in the middle. Uh, the throttle on a plane is different than the collective on a chopper. So all of those would be in different locations. Additionally, you're in the every cockpit is laid out differently. So it would really it would not be good to be able to see your own flight stick at all. It would just get in the way. Because for example, in Digital Combat Simulator, in any of the full fidelity cockpits, when I'm flying around in the F-18, I can click just about every button that exists in the cockpit. I can click every button on the MFD, and I do that with the mouse. And you can actually get hands that are gloves that are detectable by your VR, and use that to touch them as well instead of using the mouse. But so I think seeing your real hands, it would end up being more in the way and not compatible with the fact that every plane looks totally different.
All right, let's move on to talk our racing results. Special event, the Coke 600 Wednesday night open. I ran because I'm back on day shift and available to run these races again, thank God. And I wrecked out about lap 150. I actually had a lot of trouble off turn 4, kept slapping the wall, I kept trying to spin out, and eventually I did spin out, and I actually crashed pretty darn hard. So I parked it. It was just too loose for me. I don't know. I've been out of the car for a while, and that's probably part of it, but I really felt bad about how I raced. And then David, winner, winner, chicken dinner. I can't believe it. P1, you win the Coke 600.
Yeah, I stole this one. I'll come out right out and say it. It was one of those. I stole it because I was in position. Really, why don't you read Brad's first, and then come to mine.
All right,
Come
so
back.
Brad, P4. Wow, what a good run. But as David said, Rob and I had the quickest cars all race on the long run. Had the race played out with it running green to the end, I really felt I had the speed left to pass him for the win. But a late race yellow would put us on 2 tires, and I did not take a big enough swing at freeing up the car. Congrats to David, but really felt like the racing gods took one away.
Yeah, and they did. But I don't feel guilty about it because I've had so many taken away from me in the same way. In fact, the same thing happened on Monday. I took the lead in an A Open I didn't type it down, but I took the lead in the A Open that me and Brad were running together with 13 to go, and the caution came out. And on that one, I took four tires and couldn't get back to the front. Um, so, but I was in position, and they had the fastest cars, but my car was coming to life in that last run because I had caught Brad right before we pitted with 40. The last run, well, the second to last run was going to be two 40 lap runs. So at 40 laps, I had caught up to Brad, and then I pitted before him. He came out behind me, and he was just faster the first 10 laps, and then we'd level out and I'd stay the exact same distance from him. That last run, I started to catch him. The very last run, I was not going to catch him. I had actually fallen back, I think, the fourth. I didn't have a great green flag stop. Um, so we're like 15 to go, 13 to go. I was going to be happy with the P4. I was, it was a good run. The caution comes out with 13 to go, and all of us that are the long runners are pissed. I'm like, man, are you serious? Is this going to happen again? Thinking it's probably going to turn out shitty for me. Um, and I go ahead and take the two tires because I learned from Monday night, and I made the big swing adjustment. And I'd already done a lot of tire pressure adjustments to help loosen the car up as well. And I passed the leader with four to go on the inside and take my first oval win in years. I think the last time was the first year of the next gen car at Atlanta. I think was my last oval win. So yeah, it was exciting, and this is different than say an IMSA 45-minute race that you can run every 2 hours. Right? There's not as many chances to try. There's more competition. Um, it's harder to win, and I was surprised how emotional I felt when I finally got up from the rig and processed winning this race for
Look,
something
if you
that's just a game.
yeah, but look, we dig deep, on these races. We try hard. You put so much focus into it, week after week, day after day. It's been so long you haven't won either, and I'm kind of glad to hear that you were emotional about it because you should be. This is look, if it was easy, nobody would do it. Remember that. Well done. All right, moving on to A Open. Brad put in his P3, started P5, was in a good spot until the early caution. Restarting in P5 when the car in P3 decided to restart in first gear. He spins to the inside. I get a black flag for passing on the left. Go back to green and serve my drive through. Come out with the leaders and get a lucky yellow that gets me back on the lead lap. From there, it was drive back to the front. Ran the tires way too hard trying to make up ground, but drove back to the top five before a late yellow sends us to the pits. Restarted P5, would drive up to P2 before getting tight off turn two and brush the wall. Drop back to P3, a good practice race for the 600.
And I ran that one with him and came in P4. That was the one that I took that late caution took me out of the lead.
Ringmeister. Now, I want to preface this by reminding people the previous week I won 4 out of 6 starts, and the previous week I won 3 out of 5 starts. So I'm like on a streak, okay? So this week, the Toyota GR86, a passenger car. Started second, was running second on the white, and I screwed up the carousel and hit the wall hard DNF. Then started fourth on lap one of the second lap and had tangled going through the Quiddelbacher hoe. And I sneaked through but got wheel damage. I turned about 5 degrees wheels turned about 5 degrees to one side. I had about a 4 second gap at that point, was able to hold it and finish off the race and win my first win of the week, winner chicken dinner number 152. Then I started first. I had several cars behind me for the longest time. Then one guy kind of sideswiped me and runs me off the track to take the lead. I fell back to fourth, and I had a good battle for third at the end where I caught him and got to his outside. And then he ran me into the grass, and then we wrecked really hard, but I still got a P4. Moving on to Lotus Grand Prix Tour is what it's no, it's called the Classic Grand Prix Tour. No, Vintage Grand Prix Tour. I'm sorry, that's the right name. And this time it was the Lotus 79 at Mosport, Canadian Tire Park, they call it. But they used to call it Mosport, apparently. I thought this race was only 45 minutes when I signed up because I swear the previous week at Spa it was 45 minutes. But I was wrong. It was actually well over 2 hours long. It was like 83 laps or something. I made it to lap 24 and I basically fell out of the seat because of heat and exhaustion. Parked it P11 out of 14. Wasn't really wrecked out, but I had just lost the focus and was going off track left and right, and I was in over my head. I guess I'm not going to run this series because it's the races are too long for me.
Are they set by time or set by laps?
It was like 83 laps, I think. Yeah, long race.
So the
IMSA.
lanes could change. Yeah. Yeah, IMSA. I ran a lot of Road Atlanta. It's one of my favorite tracks. I can usually farm iRating there. I ended up with 2 wins. The other one was actually last week, but I didn't get it posted before the show. And then I earned my first win by protest.
Oh, you were second, and then
I
you.
was second, but the guy who won it, he laid back from the pace car an entire straightaway and would not catch up with me. I kept laying back, laying back, laying back, and then he basically waited till I was almost completely stopped on the track and gunned it. And yeah, so they actually disqualified him. So kudos to the stewards for that. As critical as I am, I have to give them credit when they do something right. So thank you, thank you. Um, yeah, there was no reason for the guy to do it either because he was the fastest car, but he just decided to play games with the restart, and it cost him the win.
Indy 500 results. Tom Dreiling P2 after a 94 lap green flag run to the end. Did not have enough speed to catch the winner. Had a blast though. Tony Rochette P12 Friday night was doing okay. Was ninth with 50 to go and going in for the green flag stop. Was mirror watching a guy in my ass drafting me into the pits and sped and slammed on the brakes and walled it and wrecked out on Sunday. And then David, you had a Indy 500 wrecked out.
Yeah, Friday I was wrecked out on lap 7. A guy he got loose, overcorrected, turned right, and then I was there, and then I was done. Saturday I got a P12, was running good, should have been top 10, but I walled it on my own with 6 to go, and it caused about 5 minutes damage, and that put me about 8 laps down. So I finished P12, 8 laps down. Then Sunday, a guy was, like I said, a guy was passing under. I just let him go, and he still just ran it too hard, and just completely wiped me out.
And that brings us to final thoughts. Greg Hectus.
It's yeah. I haven't been able to race because just been dealing with some stuff. I don't know if I'll get to do the Coke 600 tomorrow night or not. It depends on how tomorrow my day goes at work. But I'm glad for David that getting the 600 win there. It's a marquee event and it's a good thing to get, and good to see that we're still competitive. I've been following the guys. I just haven't been racing the last couple of weeks, but just a tough day to hear about Kyle Busch, and I feel for his family and the loss that they're gonna have to endure with this, and obviously being in the public eye, it's even gonna be reminded even more. But I hope the NASCAR community can come together, all the racing community can come together, um, and they'll get through it. But I really hope that this doesn't stunt even Brexton's growth as a race car driver too.
Yeah, I was thinking about Brexton, and I hope Samantha is able to continue on with his racing. I mean, I understand they're probably going to need to take a break right now, what he's doing, but look, he was on a good path to become another NASCAR superstar, and so I hope she lets him keep going on that. But all right, David Hall, final thought.
Yeah, on the same note, when you think about Samantha, wasn't she publicly sharing a lot of their struggles with fertility for quite a while?
Oh, yeah. She's been the
Yeah.
voice for the infertility movement. In fact,
Mhm.
when President Trump did some executive orders to help people with that, she was right there in the Oval Office advocating. So,
Yeah, there's not really any words and there's not really any getting over it. They'll just have to learn to live with it. Um, ultimately, that's kind of just how life goes. But I've missed a few weeks recently as well. I guess it's far enough away. Yeah, mom passed away about 6 weeks ago. It was not a surprise. She'd been dementia a lot, and that took me out of 1 week. And then on the positive side, I have been hired by a local jazz band that plays a lot of gigs, and it's going to pull me out of a few Thursdays. Um, so that's where I was. Exciting to get the win. The team support was definitely there. Brad was a really good sport considering he probably got one taken away from him. The first thing I said as I was taking the checkered to the 17 car was, I think it was his name was Rob, was that he definitely got robbed. I knew this was one of those I stole it kind of situations, but you got to take those opportunities when they get there. Um, I even had a somebody that was spotting for somebody else messaging me in the last few laps with encouraging words, and that was pretty cool. That it was not distracting for me. It was enough to just kind of get the encouragement going. And then also turned out one of the guys that was in the race, who's also a Premier Setups customer, recognized the Red Wolves logo on my car and figured out which part of Arkansas I'm originally from, because he was asking me, "Are you from this area?" And he's like, "Yeah." So we literally grew up an hour from each other. Um, so crazy small world too. Not just through he's on the show server and he's on the Premier Setup server, and he's from the same area. And that with this niche sport, it's kind of unusual to run into people in rural parts of Arkansas that both sim race.
and boy,
Um,
you got a lot of love on that special event on the socials and from Premier Racing setups and everyone weighing in, giving you a kudos. So yeah, congratulations.
and that's another thing that feels really good, is being able to give our sponsors that another win to promote the quality. The setups that's particularly Scott's setups. I know exactly how they work, and I know exactly how to change them now as the race goes. He puts out some good notes, and I do some things from personal experience as well. And they're really good on the long run. I cannot figure out why I'm slow in the early parts of races, and then I just get faster at the end of the race. I don't. It's not practice. It's just everybody else seems to slow down in the track. Just when the track is fully rubbered in and we really go, I can go. So, and I don't know how to change it or if I should. It's just my style, I guess.
Well done. Yeah. Now stack them up. Let's repeat. My final thought. Yeah, Kyle Busch is still a shock to the system. I told the guys today that I have one autograph I present in my apartment here for viewing, but I have thousands of autographs from all kinds of drivers and historical people in racing. But the only one I display is Kyle Busch. But I mean, he was my guy. I mean, he's always been my guy, and it's tough. It's tough. Far as racing goes, I'm happy, guys. I cannot believe how good it feels to be dominating in these wins at the Ringmeister. Like, I feel like I can show up and literally win in any car. And so when the next week comes up, I feel a little nervous. God, am I going to be able to repeat this? Was that the last time I'll ever win? And what a haunting. word from Kyle Busch last Friday after he wins the truck race at Dover, but he said just that. You never know when you're going to get your last win. And with that, we'll see you on the track. All right, title ideas. We got one, so I guess that's going to be it. Good show. I'm going to do the edit for Brad and do his little thing, and then I'll wait for you to do the download.
Cool.
Did you find the interview